Okay, this is the engine bay of a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner. Beep, beep. This car has so much originality. I mean, I just totally overwhelmed with the originality of this vehicle. The engine has been out and freshened, obviously, but the only thing that's been changed that I can determine is the intake manifold. It has a Hawley single plane manifold on it with a heat dissipator between the carb and the intake, and it still has its original Carter AVS actually carburetor on it. No chrome valve fan covers, just the way they came. The original breather, original air cleaner, original Roadrunner designation on top of it, the original cast iron exhaust manifolds, and they're high temp coated so that they don't have any rust or deterioration whatsoever on them. Washer bottle, these things all fall apart, so this has been replaced at some point of its life. Otherwise it would be all yellow. It's a nice white one there. Original Beep Beep Roadrunner horn in purple, just the way they came. It's a 323 gear car. It has the 24-inch radiator as opposed to the 26. It does have power steering on it, dual stage master cylinder, which apparently has been replaced. It's got a new lid on it. Again, the engine has been pulled and freshened up. You can see everything's nicely painted and everything's just as clean as can be. Correct style hoses, top and bottom on the radiator. Fixed blade fans, 7 of them. New belts on it. The distributor is still a Prestolite distributor that came with this car, with the vacuum advance still hooked up. Conventional type plug wires are not high silicone wires. Donnie put a brand new battery in it for us, so it does have a new battery. This thing has never had any trauma whatsoever. Serial number still intact on the radiator core supports, which has been totally original, undisrupted. Original fender tags still intact, and you'll see in a second here original rivets and VIN tags still on the dashboard, on the middle dash. And again, no trauma whatsoever. Original Plymouth, built in the USA tag on the front that they would put on some of these vehicles. Just originality in every which way. There's nothing on this vehicle underneath the hood here that shows that it's been modified in any way. 2-speed wiper motor on it, still original, and they work. Under hood pad, the area that normally has a lot of deterioration on these cars is still just as fresh and clean as can be. This has been a Florida vehicle all its life and not on the shore in the central part of the state. The car is just as fresh and clean a vehicle as you'd ever hope to find. 335 horse, 383 is the way they came. Certainly an underrated engine at that time, horsepower-wise. It was definitely an overachiever, especially in this body. It really did well. These things would run real close to what a GTX would. Not quite as good, but awful close. Originality everywhere. The heater hoses for the passenger compartment still hooked up and functional. I don't know what else. Everything under here is basically the way it came from the factory in 1969, with the exception of that aluminum intake manifold, single plane. Let's go around the rest of it. We'll show you what we can on the outside. You're at Hanksters in Daytona Beach, Florida, and we have a really neat toy for you this morning. This car just reeks originality everywhere, and I mean everywhere. There's nothing that shows that this car has had nothing except the best care in its entire life. We're going to get started and show you everything we can about the car, and I'll explain the stickers here in a minute. The paint on this car, what we did when we got this car is it still had its original finish on it. It had been dusted a couple spots here and there, but what we did is we wet sanded the car and then cleared it. So if you look really hard, you'll still see the original paint with the original checking that it gets from age, that little crow's feet. If you look at the right angle, you'll find it here and there on this vehicle. We left it because of the originality. However, it has been cleared. It's not going to go any further. You really, like I said, have to look and see it. There's nothing I can see right now. To look at this car now, I can't see anything at all whatsoever in the paint. It looks better than it did when it was new. Original hood, obviously, 383 designation on it, but look at the fit. Look at the fit on this thing. 1/8 of an inch down both sides and across the back of the cowl area. And this thing is just as fresh and clean and nice a fit car as you could ever find, ever. Again, the paint is Better than driver quality, and certainly better than it was in 1969, whenever it was released by Chrysler. So, Plymouth, Chrysler. But it has been cleared, and the paint on the car is very, very nice at this point. Original chrome everywhere. Nothing has ever been replaced on this car, to my knowledge. All the Argent trim around the headlight enclosures is still original and nice, as fresh as could possibly be. Same thing with the grille. You can see the Argent inset here, and the grille itself has no marks or dinghies whatsoever on it. Absolutely none. No rocks have come up through the years and whacked it. I don't feel anything. A little tiny chip here maybe. I can feel it, I can't see it. Again, the front panel, no dings, marks from stones. Check this out. We left it, obviously, if a new owner wants it off, it's not a problem taking it off. They're just stickers. But the gentleman that got this vehicle owned it since basically when it was new. I'm assuming it's 12 of 69. It could be 12 of 79. I really don't know. But 12 of 9. Naval Air Base here in Florida. West coast of Florida. That's what that sticker is. And it's been on there forever, and I just didn't feel it was right to take it off. If a new purchaser, a new buyer wants it off, away it goes, and we hit the bumper with a buffer, and you'll never see it was there. Chrome on the front bumper. No marks whatsoever. Bumper fitment. Just the way Plymouth did it in 1969. And there's no dinghies, marks whatsoever on the front bumper. Parking lights, amber, just the way they should be. Nice crystal clear lenses. Again, originality everywhere. And the linearity of the front bumper is just spot on. It cannot be any better than it is now. Front end, all original. Never disrupted, never bumped, banged, nothing. Stickers on the front. If it's an issue, away they go. Let's go down the side. Maybe we'll find something there. Okay, this is the driver's side of our 69 Roadrunner beep beep car. Side marker lamps just as nice as you could hope to ever have them fit. Nice flush fitment. There's absolutely nothing on this car. This is just all tin everywhere. Nothing's ever been repaired or bonded or anything. Absolutely nothing. Look at this. The hood to the cowl, to the front fender, to the door. It can't fit any better than that does. It just absolutely can't. Look at the fitment of the front fender to the front of part of the door to the rocker panel. Again, precision fitment. Of course, our Roadrunner horn emblem, which is reflective, Roadrunner designation. Correct wiper arms, and, I don't know, they may be the correct blades. No, they're not. I don't think they are correct blades on it. That one may be, this one is not. This one has an air deflector to help push down on it. I believe that is correct. Trim around the front window. No dinghies, marks whatsoever. Absolutely none. Windshield is tinted. Again, the VIN tag just as fresh and clean as it was in 1969. Check this out. We're leaving this on too. This inspection sticker from Florida expired January of 1980. So that means it had to have been inspected sometime January of 79 or maybe even earlier. I don't know how long the inspections in Florida last, but we're leaving it. It's been there since 1980. We just don't feel it's right to remove it. Again, new buyer can take it off. Drip rail. Absolutely as nice as you could ever hope to find one. Obviously the roof, we never find anything on a roof. They're just as nice and fresh and clean as they were when they were built. There's no marks, no dings, nothing's fallen through it, on it through the years. Window fitment, absolute precise. The front glass to the rear quarter glass, which is also tinted, by the way. Wing area, no deterioration. Usually this chrome is deteriorated from age. None. Original rubber around the wing area. Again, on the chrome, there's no deterioration. Correct mirror for this era car. This is just a non-adjustable one. That's the way they came. We could always add one to the other side. if the purchaser decides he wants a second mirror, which is a good idea. The wife's whiskers we replaced. They were starting to look a little aged, so we did put new wife's whiskers on them. They started to, just look not fresh. So original door handles, chrome on them is just as fresh as you'd ever hope to find. Again, look at this. Look at this. All the way down to the rocker panel. Unbelievable. Look at the fitment of this door. And the finish on it too. And remember, this is originality here. All we did was clear over it. You're still looking at everything the way it came from Plymouth. Sail panel just the way it should be. No marks whatsoever. Trim around the back light. Not a single mark on that trim. Absolutely none. Hat shelf. We put new material on top of it. It was faded and deteriorated, so we did replace the material. We left the two speakers that the previous owner had put in the vehicle at some point of its life. I have no idea when. But the hat shelf, rack, tray is refinished the way it would look from 1969. Nice and black and clean and clear now. Look at this. This is all original, not fixed and bondoed or anything. The tab is still on the bottoms of the quarter panels where the drop downs are welded on. That tab is still intact on it. Rear marker light, same as it was in the front. Absolutely no fitment problems whatsoever. There's not a dent, a mark. I didn't feel a single thing down the side of this car. Absolutely nothing. And again, the car looks just, other than the lumped fenders in the back, just as the way they were contoured from a Chrysler, a little bit wider in the back end of these cars. You could put some tires under this thing. There's not a single deviation in it. I still don't see any doors on it. I have to come here to this angle to see that there's actually a door on the car. Other than that, it looked like one yellow mass all the way down the side. Correct road wheels, 14-inch road wheels that Plymouth provided for these cars, with the correct Mopar centers also for them. BFG radial TA tires, kind of everybody's choice on these vehicles now. That or Cooper Cobras. White letter tires give it a little bit of a pop to it. But they are the correct wheels that belong on this car. This thing has originality everywhere you look, everywhere. Let's go out back, see if we can find a deviation there. Okay, this is the tail section of our little beep beep car. Check out the trunk fitment. Look at that, same as the hood. 1/8 of an inch the whole way around. Our little bird there with his helmet ready to do a little bit of racing. Again, the Argent area, original, just as nice as you'd ever hope to find. Nice shiny tail light lenses in it. Check this side. And the chrome doesn't have any deterioration at all on it. No patina, no pitting whatsoever. Just as nice as you'd ever hope to find. Fitment of these quarter panel ends to the quarter panel itself is just absolute precise. There's no deviation whatsoever. Absolutely none. Bumper fitment. Absolute precision. It's a Plymouth. You wouldn't expect any less. Again, the linearity of this rear bumper, same as it was on the front. Just absolute precise. Correct exhaust tips on at the back, just the way they should be. Backup lights, nice and clear lenses on them. Back of this bumper. Nobody's bumped it, dinged it, marked it, nothing. There's no scuffs on the top of it or the front one, I forgot to mention, from anyone putting their feet on it through the years. Roadrunner designation in the back. No dents, deviations, nothing whatsoever on this. And again, you know, I'm looking at this thing and you really have to see it in the light to see that there's, or in a correct angle, to see that there's a little tiny bit of, I don't know what you want to call it, patina in the paint, whatever, just age. But it looks, the way it is now, this car looks like it's a totally undisrupted, never painted, original 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner. One more side to go, though. Okay, passenger side, 69 Roadrunner. Side marker lights, same as the other two, just as nice as can be. Again, our tab, all tin. There's nice sharp edges on it. just as nice as you'd hope to find. No one's disrupted it through the years. Let's see, the back light. No marks around the trim whatsoever, absolutely none. The glass is nice and clean and clear on it. There's no sanding marks because no one's ever done anything like that through the years. Just as nice and clean and fresh a rear light as you would hope to find on the vehicle. Sail panel area nice and clean and undisrupted. No one's put quarters on this car. And you'll see in the trunk videos that, or pictures that Devin's going to show you, it still has all the original Chrysler splatter sound deadener in the trunk, both sides, showing its originality. Again, still haven't found a chip, mark, a ding, a deviation whatsoever. Absolutely none. Again, our white whiskers, which these aren't new, we just had these put on. But look here, look. You gotta be kidding me. Unreal. Okay, quarter glass to the front window. Again, precise fitment. Drip rail. Nothing. No dings, marks, nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Chrome on the wing area, just as fresh and clean as you'd ever hope to find. Again, the glass on the side is tinted also. Original door handles, and they have absolutely no wear whatsoever on them. Roadrunner designation, and our little reflective Roadrunner getting ready for some action there. Again, look at this. You have to see this in the video, but you're going to see it also in his still photography that he shows you. There is no deviation whatsoever. If you close your eyes, you can't feel anything. It's just one transition of a panel onto another one. Absolutely none. Someone broke the antenna off, but I guess we'll drill it out and put a new Mopar antenna on it. This is original, by the way. No one's replaced anything on it. Again, tin. Still has the tabs, cutout area. Back side marker light. And we're back where we started. Again, the road wheels really add a lot of pop to this. It's a pretty high option car. When you look at the tag on the fender tag, break it down, which Devin will do for you, I'm sure. It'll show you that this car is a, by the way, it is a numbers matching car. This thing is all numbers matching. Nothing has ever been disrupted through the years. It's got a 323 posi rear end in it. It's got power steering. It's got bucket seats. It's got a console. And guess what else? 3 pedals. It's a 4-speed car. Really trick to find these cars at a 4-speed. A lot of fun. I drove this car for a few days between, us getting one thing fixed on it, a couple lights repaired on it, and getting it wet sanded and buffed and cleared and everything on it. It's just a fantastic car. It runs just like the day it was new. It's a very iconic car. You can't find these. Look around. You'll see, you can find Roadrunners that have been redone. Try finding one that's originality. I mean, I know that we left some stickers on here for you, but they're just stickers. They'll come off if you don't want them on there. The gentleman that we got this vehicle off of owned this car since 1971. It's been in his possession. So it had a few miles on it when he got it, and he's taken care of it ever since. So originality everywhere. I mean, it's a very difficult car to find. It's never been bumped anywhere. It has the original chrome. It has the original interior. It has the original. It doesn't have the original battery and original tires, but I think other than that, you're looking at an original 1969 Roadrunner. And you can't tell that the paint's not original. It is cleared over. It's not going to deteriorate any further from this point. And you really, really better get your magnifying glass out to see if you can find any imperfections in it. You'll see those little tiny crow's feet, but you got to have it in the right light, and you have to really be looking to see it. If you're going to just go past the car or just go around it like I just did, you won't see them. This is a car you really should take a look at if you're in the market for a Roadrunner, and everybody is, and especially with a 4-speed. And it's down here at Hanksters in Daytona Beach, and we encourage everybody to come down and look at these cars, I mean, I get really excited over presenting these cars to people in person. That way they know exactly what they're buying. We can go for a ride. We can run this thing through the gears and have some fun with it. Put it up on a rack. You can look underneath it, see that it is original. You can check this thing out, and maybe you can see the little imperfections in the paint. Pretty hard to look for, but you can maybe find them. Maybe. I doubt it, but you might find them. It's a car that you really, really have to take a look at if you're in the market for a Roadrunner. But if you can't make it down here, that's why we're doing these videos. And that's why Devin's going to show you 90 to 100 high-resolution still photos of this vehicle, so that you can look at each one of these photos that he takes and blow it up if you want. Take a look and you'll see every little tiny imperfection, fitment that I said about. I didn't find any chips, I didn't find any marks, I didn't find any dents whatsoever. So, I mean, there's nothing for you to look at there. You can look at the fitment if you want, you can look at the finish, you can look at everything on the vehicle on these high-resolution photos that he presents to you. Take a look at it, because this is one of a kind. Just find a vehicle in this original condition, and it's here at Hanksters in Daytona Beach. Okay, this is the interior of our original 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner 4-speed car. Steering wheel, where most of them are cracked through the years just from shrinkage, the plastic is absolutely perfect. There's no cracks whatsoever. Nice resilience in the center. Our little Roadrunner guy smiling at me here. Dash pad itself, original again, and no cracks, no deviations, no warpage whatsoever. Forgot to mention when I was outside, the metal part of the dash where it transitions to the base of the windshield, just as clean as it was in 1969. I mean, David kept this car absolutely as it was when it was new. It just originality everywhere. Nice, clean speedometer enclosure, your gauges, your plastic over the speedometer, just as clean as can be. An unusual type tack that actually works, believe it or not. So we left it. I've never seen one like it before, but it does function. It has a red line on it that's adjustable, and he has it set at 5,000 RPMs. Roadrunner on the side of the dash over there, the original glove box on it. How about the original owner's manual in it too? How's that? Original wheel type radio. I don't know if it works or not. We'll have to try it when we do our drive. Door panels, originality again the same way. The armrests are the molded type, just the way they came from the factory. They don't appear to have been replaced. Window cranks, just as fresh and clean as you'd ever hope to find. Door actuators, there's absolutely no wear whatsoever on them. The plastic, the chrome-plated plastic behind them and in the back, just as fresh and clean as you'd ever hope to find. Trash trays in the back, trash tray up front. Headliner, just as fresh and clean, and nice tight yet. Nice shrinkage to it. It's not torn or disrupted in any way. Sun visors don't have any stitching coming loose on them. They're still the original sun visors. Day-night mirror. No milkiness whatsoever. No cloudiness whatsoever in the mirror surface itself. The wheel-type radio, I think I mentioned that. Switches are still nice and clean and bright, just the way they should be. Let's see here. Did have a oil pressure gauge added, an auxiliary oil pressure gauge, because there's nothing on the dash except a idiot light there. There's fuel, voltage, amp, and temperature, so he added the oil pressure so he knew what was going on. The back seat, the material on the back seat, the front seat, everything appears to be all still fresh as clean as it would be for 1969. Seat belts in the back, seat belts in the front, and shoulder belts. So this thing has a whole complement of safety equipment in it. At that time, that was considered safety equipment. They didn't know what airbags were at that point. Loop pile carpeting, just the way it would have been, and floor mats in the front. There aren't any in the back. There are floor mats in the front. Does have a console in it, and there's no deterioration whatsoever on it. It has a lid that needs tightened down. I don't know, Plymouth, why they did it, I have no idea, but I think they found some coil springs off a Buick and figured out how to put them on here so that there's about 400 pound of pressure on this lid. What happens is they have little stamped nuts that hold this lid to the hinged area that has a spring on it, and we always have to take these and just tap them actually and put a conventional nut on it. That pulls it down and puts it back into place so the fitment is precise the way it's supposed to be. Original Hurst round handled shifter that came with this car, and check this out, huh? It has a bigger ball than Plymouth put on it, and it's actual wood, so Dave had this thing apparently cut or made or bought it somewhere. It's a little larger ball on the end of the shifter here than Mopar had on it. The lights on the console function just as they should. Also, the dome light is working. So everything in this car so far, at least at this point, is functional. Again, if you look at the chrome on this vehicle, this thing has apparently had nothing but the finest care its entire life. The seat's not caved in or anything. We have it a nice firm padding in the seat. The door jambs themselves are just as nice and fresh as you could ever hope to find. The rubbers had to have been replaced at some point. I know we put new door rubbers on them, but these still feel really nice and resilient. The car just reeks originality everywhere. It's a vehicle that it's just hard to find. You can find these cars that are done, the motor's been replaced, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a replacement engine or replacement transmission or whatever. You got to remember, these things are 50 years old already, you know? What can you expect? But this guy has survived the test of time. This thing has got everything original, driveline-wise, apparently paint-wise from what we can see. We're down to the original yellow paint that came from this, except for a couple spots that's been touched up here or there, but certainly nothing from accidents. The panels, all original panels that came with this car. This is something that you need to really take a look at if you're in the market for a Roadrunner, especially a 69, which seems to be everybody's favorite, 69, 70s. And this one is unique in the fact that it does have a 4-speed. Fantastic piece of Chrysler engineering here. So it's available at Hanksters in Daytona Beach, Florida. Take a look at it. Okay, we are in our original 69 Roadrunner. Kind of a pale yellow color, black interior, buckets, console, and a 4-speed. Neat car. We have, let's see what we have. We have a horn that does not go beep beep. So we got it. You can't have a Roadrunner without a beep beep horn, right? It's you can't do it. It has to have a beep beep horn. So that we definitely need to fix. Let's see here. Wipers. Wipers are functioning as they should. They're doing a good job. Okay. Turn signal left. Nice and bright, working away there. Turn signal right. Same deal. We just fired this up, so the temperature is just starting to come up. It does have a tachometer. I've never seen a tach like this, but he has it set at 4,500 RPMs. But the tach does work. It functions as it should. You got a quarter of a tank of fuel, just a hair over. Alternator functioning as it should also. Everything on this car is just as fresh and clean as you'd ever hope to find. The radio, it's trying. It's trying, but it's not making noise, so maybe something's a little goofy with it, but at least the knobs work. We have oil pressure. It has an auxiliary oil pressure gauge that's holding nice oil pressure for us, even at an idle. So we're in good shape there. So the only thing we're missing, we gotta have, is a beep beep horn. We gotta get that horn working for you. Let's go for a ride, see how this guy works. Nice tight running car. Goes down the road straight as an arrow. You gotta aim it right here. Straight as an arrow, no hands on the wheel yet. Still going straight, nice and tight as can be. Let's try brakes, no hands. Stop straight as can be, still no hands on the wheel. Nobody behind me, it's a good time to do it. Nice car. Speedometer functioning as it should. Nice car. No noises, no shakes, shimmies, rattles, squeaks, nothing. This is a very tight Roadrunner. Temperature up, operating temperature now. You see the gauge does function. And it's a hot day out here. You can see it's not overheating. I think it's supposed to be 105 with the heat index today. 108, something like that. I know it's hot. I know your little buddy's soaked with sweat already. But nice car, really nice tight car. Very precise steering in it. No looseness whatsoever. It's just a real nice handling, nice stopping, nice running car. Wait till this guy decides to go. Shit. That's about 70. That should do us. Nice running car. Pulls like it should, drives like it should, straight as an arrow, very precise steering. No shakes, shimmies, rattles, squeaks, nothing. This is a nice straight road scraper. This thing is as nice a car as you'll ever find. And original too. Everything is originality. Again, our temperature's holding nice. It's not overheating whatsoever. And we're over 100 degrees here today, and just nice, cool running car. It's a nice car. I wouldn't mind having this myself. This is a nice car. It brings back a lot of memories. A lot of memories. Okay, this is the underside of a 1969 original Roadrunner. Correct numbers car, engine, transmission, and rear end. Nothing's been disrupted in this car through the years. Has disc brakes in the front. They're discs. They are not power, but they are discs. New hardware associated going to it. The lines have apparently deteriorated some through the years, so the lines have been replaced on it. New rubber bushings in the front end for the sway bar. The starter is the not the original one. It is a replacement, but it is a Mopar style starter on it, not a gear reduction starter. It is a 4-speed. All the linkage and everything is correct for the car. All new bushings in this thing. New tie rod ends, new ball joints, new shocks in the front. Let's see. And then, like I said, this is the correct numbers matching engine, date code correct, not a replacement. It has been out and freshened, but other than that, it is the original engines that this car was born with. Also, the original transmission. Mopar Mopar new process transmission. Absolutely indestructible. The original style header pipes off the cast iron exhaust manifolds. I'm going to call them 2 and I call them 2 1/8 inch. Would be the way they came from the factory. The drop downs on the front part of the inner fender panels, which a lot of guys usually try to jack them up on there and distort them, bend them some. These are absolutely as they left the factory. Original brake lines on it. The subframes in the front are all original. There's no deterioration. There's actually no jack marks on them either. That's really amazing. Usually you see some jack marks through the years. This one has absolutely none. Steering box has no leaks either. That is the original steering box that this car was associated with. No leaks on the transmission either, or on the speedometer drive. A Hurst shifter linkage underneath. No leaks on the tail shaft. Floor pans in this car are just totally as they were when they left the factory. They still have the splatter undercoating here and there on the undercarriage that Mopar put on these vehicles. It was a sound deadener. It was not an undercoating per se. It was actually a sound deadener. A lot of people called it undercoating though, and I guess it did serve a purpose somewhat as an undercoating material also, but it was more of a fibrous material to absorb sound. Isolate the road noise from the passenger compartment. Drive shaft nice and clean, new U-joint in the front. Conventional Mopar style under chassis mufflers in the back. And again, the brake lines are the original brake lines and the original fuel line also. Totally original, not replaced through the years. Parking brake assembly is original and functional. It's hooked up and it is functional. The subframes in the back are the same as they were in the front, totally unmarked. I don't see any jack marks whatsoever on them anywhere either. The torque boxes, front spring hanger boxes, whatever you want to call them, front mounts for the leaf springs, no marks whatsoever on them. No deterioration at all in this car anywhere, absolutely none. And again, it's originality. There's no replacement panels underneath this car. You can still see where the rocker panel and the quarter panel transition together, and the sloppy lead that Mopar did back at the factory at that era. When they finished these, that's lead. They didn't use Bondo on these vehicles. Mopar used lead to fill those areas in. The let's see. Again, new U-joint in the back, 8 3/4 heavy-duty Mopar rear end, 6 leaves on this side, 7 leaves on this side, 4-speed car for torque bias. No leaks whatsoever in the rear differential. Also, you can see that there are absolutely no leaks whatsoever on this driveline. Absolutely none. Again, the springs have a nice arch to them, just the way they should. 2 1/8-inch pipes out of the mufflers. You know what? These are. I'm going to call these 2 1/8. I'm going to call those 2 1/4. Those are a little bit bigger. These might be 2 1/8, and those are 2 1/4. That sounds more realistic. The rear drum brakes are heavy-duty brakes in the back of this vehicle, and they are a fin drum design, so they do dissipate a good bit of heat, even though they are a drum brake. New shocks in the back. The subframes where it transitions up over the rear differential is just as fresh and clean as you'd ever hope to find. There's no marks whatsoever. No one apparently had any jack stands underneath this thing or jacked it up through the years. It must have just been serviced on a drive-on rack the way we have it here, because I don't see any indication that there's any jack marks whatsoever on the vehicle anywhere. Wait a minute. Take that back. One right here. I don't know what. There's a little bit of a mark there from something. It might have been from a jack. Gas tank is the original, and again, it still has some of the splatter sound deadener on it from Mopar. Some of it is peeled off through the years, but majority of it is still there. The floor pans are the original floor pans, and they do not need any attention. They don't need any replacement pans put on it. The drop downs in the quarters still have the tabs still intact on them, and the drain holes are still the original plugs in the drain holes the way they came from Mopar. And again, a real nice arch to the spring. The subframes where they go back to the bumper, your bumper supports and everything in that transitional piece of framework, just as fresh and clean as you'd ever hope to find. I don't see anything on this car that doesn't have originality stamped all over it. Correct style exhaust tips on the correct style exhaust system that would have come with this car. Again, really impressive the way the floor pans are in the back. Most Mopars are just eaten out through the years. You know, just something happened, you know, with the condensation underneath the floor mat in the back, and this car somehow has survived the test of time because it still has its original floor mat, trunk mat in it. The trunk is the original floor in it, and the drop downs and the quarters and everything are still all original. A nice fresh round of rubber front and back. You can see everything on this car is just leak-free at this point. It doesn't mean a year from now, you know, you're not going to find a drop of oil on the floor, because you probably will. 742 differential in it would be correct for 69 here. This thing is just as a correct car as you could ever hope to find. Again, numbers matching engine, transmission, rear end, originality underneath this car in every way. This is a very rare find to have a vehicle that has this much originality to it and has never been traumatized in any way through the years. And that's what we have here at Hangsters at Daytona Beach. So take a look at this guy if you want a 4-speed Road Runner, because this is the guy.